Welcome to the podcast, Science of High Paid, High Performing, Happy Engineers, the show to help engineers develop all skills non technical. My name is Aditya Gute, and I'm a speaker and a performance coach for engineers to transform them into rock stars. Hey guys, welcome to the show. We have Neil today. Neil is the founder of Teach the Geek, an online platform for STEM professionals, and he's also the author of the children's book, Ask Uncle Neil, Why is My Hair Curly? The first offering of Teach the Geek is a speaking course, Teach the Geek to Speak. I love the name. His children's book is about his nephew asking him why his hair is the way it is, and Neil uses science to answer the question. Drawing on his years of experience as an engineer in the medical device industry, Neil is an advocate for STEM for adults and children alike. Welcome, Neil. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Aditya. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So tell us, Neil, you started off as an engineer and now you have a public speaking course for engineers and you advocate for STEM education. What made this transition possible?
Well, the public speaking part really stemmed from my own struggles as a presenter at work. So I had this job as a product development engineer, and I thought when I took the job, I was just going to be doing, just that, product development. I didn't know that as part of the job, I'd be what's called a project lead. The company that I worked for at the time was too cheap to hire project managers, so they had the engineers give all the presentations. Typically, project managers would do that type of job. So every month I had to give presentations in front of the CEO, the VP of R&D, VP of marketing,
Wow.
basically all the people that have corner offices. I had to give a presentation to them on a monthly basis on project progress. And I was terrible at those presentations at first. It was embarrassing. And I mean, I'd get up there and I didn't know it was possible to sweat that profusely. And it was gross, really. I mean, I get up there, I'd just be wet, like I just came out the shower or something. It was ridiculous. And you'd think I would have gotten better at it over time, or at least know, okay, I don't want to feel this way every time I have to give one of these presentations. But I was pretty cocky. I just figured I'd just slap some slides together and get up there and read them and then get out of there as quickly as possible. But I eventually realized that wasn't going to fly. My project eventually got canceled. And I firmly believe, I still believe to this day, that if I had done a better job at presenting in front of these people, perhaps I could have saved the project. But I suppose we'll never know. But that really was the catalyst for me becoming much better at giving presentations in front of people, especially decision makers, where their decisions determine whether your project exists or not. And so that was really what started my improvement in public speaking. And then I also saw the other engineers; they weren't all that much better at public speaking than I was, and so that really was another, I guess, a light bulb that went off in my head that said that other engineers struggled with presenting in front of people.
Totally, and public speaking is one of my favorite topics too, which I help a lot of engineers with. So when you mentioned that your job has forced you to kind of get into the public speaking, right? And many times engineers don't have such opportunities. So what are your thoughts on engineers not having these opportunities to public speaking, on how they can improve public speaking skills?
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. Because of the job I had to give presentations on a monthly basis. But even when I worked in medical devices, let's just say I didn't have that opportunity, I still worked in teams. And the teams would have to meet typically once a week to discuss project progress. So at least at my job, the marketing person, the quality person, the regulatory affairs person, each would get up and talk about what they were doing in relation to the project. So the product development or the R&D person, the engineer, would have to do the same. So there's an opportunity there to even to practice your public speaking skills just in front of a team. And then another instance where I definitely got better at public speaking was joining Toastmasters. It's an international organization. It's they have They have chapters all over the world. No matter where I lived for quite a while, I was a member of a Toastmasters group in the area, and that provides an excellent forum to practice your public speaking.
Yeah. So one of this engineer that I recently spoke to, right, and his manager has been giving this feedback every year about how he has to improve his communication skills and speaking skills, and if he wanted to get a promotion, but that is a struggle for him. Because all he wants to do is write code, be in front of the computer, and he has no enrollment in public speaking. So, what would you say to those engineers on why they should proactively practice public speaking skills?
Well, I mean, I guess his boss kind of laid it out for him, didn't he? He
Yeah.
said, if you want to get promoted at this company, you have to improve your communication skills. So I guess that engineer has a decision to make. Does he want to get promoted or not? And if he doesn't want to do the work to get promoted, well, that's his fault. That's the choice that he made. But it really public speaking for anyone, engineers included, is really important in just gaining visibility at your company. It's not necessarily the smartest person or even the best person suited for the job that often gets these promotions. It's the person that has the greater visibility, the person that has the greater relationships with the people that make these decisions. So if you just want to sit at your desk and write code, that's fine. But if you get passed over time and time again for promotions, well, there's a reason why.
I think that's a great point, especially having greater visibility, right? And that's what you can get when you can get better with communication skills, and you can apply it in various forms. It's not just presentations, but it can help you to network with people, because many times if you want to network with high managers or executives, communication skills are the thing that makes a huge difference. So you have created a spectacular online course, Teach the Geek to Speak. Tell us a little bit about the course on how engineers can benefit.
Yeah, so when I first put the course together, it was a bunch of videos of me sitting at my kitchen table, just talking about the things that I thought were important when it comes to being effective as a public speaker. And I thought it was great. Then I showed it to a friend, and the friend didn't have such a high opinion of it. She said that I should redo the whole thing. The lighting wasn't all that great. You could barely see me in the videos. She said, you can't put this out. And I guess it was helpful to have that second pair of eyes, because after I took in her feedback and I realized that she was right. And so I redid the entire course. I made it more of a process. So the course essentially is a 6-step process to get better or become more effective at public speaking, no matter what type of presentation that you have to give. And the idea of making it a process, in hindsight, was something I should have come up with from the beginning, because at least working in medical devices, we have to follow a process to develop medical devices. And so even though it was part of my job, the idea of making it my own course, a process, was foreign to me at the time. But eventually I got the hint, and eventually I made it into that. So essentially the course is a 4-module course. It covers before, during, and after a presentation, the topics that I think are important when it comes to effective public speaking. And I made the course about an hour and a half in terms of duration. I didn't want it to be too long, because I actually want people to do it. I figured if it was too long, people would stop doing it and not get the full benefit of it. And then also there are exercises at the end of the course that I suggest people do to get better at public speaking too, because you can take all the courses, listen to all the podcasts, read all the books you want, but unless you actually go out there and do it, you won't get better at anything in public speaking specifically.
I like how you broke it down into a process, and I think that's something engineers also resonate with, because we love process, we love structure, right? We love from frameworks. Sounds like a very a beneficial course for engineers to take. And one other question I have is, what would you tell an engineer who is too shy to try public speaking, on how he can overcome those mindset blocks?
When it comes, I guess, to anyone who's shy about it, you really got to think about the benefits. When I was giving those presentations in front of the senior management, it's not something I really wanted to do, but I saw the benefit in getting better at it eventually, especially when my project got canceled. So yeah, you could be shy, but so what? If you know you have certain goals and their shyness is keeping you from achieving those goals, well, you have to overcome the shyness to get the goals, or else you have to choose different goals.
And it's okay to sweat in front of the executive team as you're achieving these goals, right? And it's going to be uncomfortable very beginning. Even Neil was uncomfortable, but now he ended up creating a public speaking course to help other engineers. So you could be doing the same thing if you cross that hurdle of overcoming that shyness and limiting thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. And even I still sweat sometimes when I get up in front of people for public speaking, and that's why I wear sweaters. Sweaters help to hide the sweat stains.
Dude, you are so funny, man. You're one of the funniest people I've met. I love how you throw these things in between our conversation. So tell us a little bit about the competition among engineers. Engineers are pretty competitive. So I want to ask you how do you deal with competition when it comes to beating an engineer for promotion?
Hmm. I mean, I never really considered it. I never really look at it as a competition with others. I mean, I can only control what I can control. So I focus pretty inwardly, really, and I focus on the things that I can control. So one of those things was presenting in front of people. I wasn't very good at it. I got a lot better at it, and I saw the benefits of getting good at it. I guess when it comes to just improving yourself and advancing in your career, I'm not sure I would. I'm an advocate of really competing with others and looking what others are doing. I mean, life is it's a marathon, not really a sprint. So you really should focus on yourself and the things that you think you need to improve on. And I think that would be the best course of action.
I'd like to ask you a deeper question on that, if that is okay with you. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is, Neil, you put together a group of people, right? You're creating a community of these of coaches and speakers and engineering leaders who want to advocate for the STEM education. I thought that's a brilliant thought to do, and especially uh, uh, as when you're coming from an engineering background, you can have this mindset that you're very self-motivated, and also you want to prove yourself to be better than others. And sometimes that kind of a competition where I will lose if someone wins could actually hold you back. On the other hand, you can look at it differently, like you said, focusing inwards on what you can do, right? And in many ways, collaborate. Your competitor helps you, makes you better, and collaboration gets the best out of everyone else. So, with that said, I guess I lost the track of the question I want to ask, which is okay.
No, I get what you're saying. So yeah, you certainly could look at it the first way you described, where you have to lose for someone else to win. But I mean, in life, you're probably going to lose way more than you win. So that's probably a lot of time you'll spend being upset because you're losing. You could just look at it as collaborating is helpful to everyone. It's helpful to you. It's helpful to the people you're collaborating with, where everybody wins. I never thought when I put that community together that I was in competition with any of the people that I was asked to be a part of the community. I saw what they were doing. I saw how helpful it was, and I wanted to align myself with those people. It really was that simple. And it's been going for just a little while now, maybe a few weeks now. I don't even think it's a month yet, but I see it as being very beneficial of just learning and growing with these various people that are similar minded to myself.
Totally. I mean, I've seen horrible stories about how people, pulled each other down because of this competition. And I'm also seeing how you can build a great community and help each other grow with the initiatives you're bringing on. And this, I think, again, all this to say, when you, even the CEO of Google talks about competition, if you see someone else doing great, you want to be with that person because that's how you can grow. And like you said, Neil, that is how you can learn from other people. Any other final thoughts that you have that you would like to share with our audience, Neil?
Oh yeah. So I mean, of course, if you want to check out the course, go to teachthegeek.com. That's for sure. And I'm on LinkedIn pretty heavy. And you mentioned earlier that I wrote a children's book, and I'm really proud of that. And it's about my nephew asking me why his hair is the way it is. I use science to answer the question. The motivation for writing that children's book was to encourage more Black children to consider the STEM fields as careers, because I think that confidence is a big issue for a lot of us in terms of getting into it. We think that STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math is for somebody else and not us, but it could be for anyone who's interested in the field and is willing to put in the work to get the job done. And so the book is essentially, it'll start off as it will be a series. So this is the first book. Essentially, every book that follows it will be my nephew asking me a question and me using science to answer it.
Yeah. So coming from that background, right? You're an African American individual, and like you said, it is many children from that background might have this thought that someone else is good at math and science. It's not me. So what was your experience like?
My experience was, it was fun. I mean, I didn't encounter any sort of issues based on race working at any of the companies that I worked at. I know that's not the case, unfortunately, for others. But luckily for me, I worked at various companies. Maybe it's because I worked at smaller companies too. Perhaps these issues are more magnified at larger companies. I mean, the largest company I ever worked at was maybe about 500 people. And the other ones were startups. There were maybe 50 people or less. So I never had any kind of issues based on race anyway. Any kind of issue that I had, I could probably pinpoint to something else.
Yeah. And also another curious question I have, which could be a little uncomfortable, if you're okay for me to ask. Is it okay for me to ask you a little uncomfortable question?
I don't know. It depends on how uncomfortable I get. Go ahead. We'll see.
Okay. So as an Indian engineer, right? And one you explained how this, coming from an African American background, there are not a lot of engineers. People could have some limiting thoughts around that. And coming from an Indian engineer, everyone perceives you as an engineer. Even before you tell them what you're doing, they'll tell you, "Oh, you're an engineer," right? So what is I'm curious to understand the external perception, especially a perception from you on how you perceive an Indian engineer as.
Well, I've worked with a few, working in medical devices, and yeah, there's quite a number of Indians that turn out to be engineers. That's for sure. I think it's cultural though. I don't even think it matters whether you're male or female. It just seems like engineering is very prevalent in that culture. The ones that I've worked with, they're pretty smart. They're very by the book. They're hardworking. They weren't the best presenters either. I think about it. They could use my course, but
for sure.
Yeah, but I think It's anything else? Yeah, I mean, I had no issues working with the Indian engineers.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm always curious to see how others perceive Indian engineers as. So that's all I have.
What do you think I was going to say, man? He was like, I'm speaking to you. You think I was going to say I got a problem with Indian engineers? Come on, man.
Of course, you can't say that on the live video, even if you do, right?
Like, no, I couldn't stand any of them. What do you want from me, man?
Okay. Again, thank you so much, Neil, for being with us today and sharing your fabulous courses. I'll drop a link in the comment section on how you can reach out to Neil and how you can find those courses.